This is a bloodworm, and it might be the creepiest creature I've ever seen. It has venomous fangs, a mouth that shoots out of its body, and a hunting method straight out of a nightmare. And for some reason, I decided to keep 12 of them as pets. This is a bloodworm, and it's easily one of the most unsettling creatures I've ever handled. At first glance, its body looks pretty simple, but when you look closer, it becomes clear why so many people are disturbed by it. Each bloodworm has a mouth that can extend outward from its body like something from a sci-fi movie. And at the end of that mouth are 4 venomous fangs. These fangs aren't just sharp, they're designed to latch onto prey and inject venom, which is something you definitely do not want to experience firsthand. Despite how dangerous and disgusting they look, bloodworms are commonly sold online as live fishing bait. Almost nobody buys them as pets. And that's exactly why I wanted to try it. As someone known for keeping some of the weirdest animals possible, I realized I might be one of the first people ever to actually document what it's like to keep bloodworms alive in an aquarium. A few days after ordering them, a delivery truck arrived at my house. Inside the box, hidden beneath layers of packing material, were the bloodworms. Even with my experience handling dangerous animals, I was genuinely uncomfortable opening this container. Using tweezers, I carefully removed one worm to inspect it up close. Seeing it in person was far worse than any photo. Its body twisted constantly, and when it extended its mouth, the fangs became clearly visible. Bloodworms use these fangs to hunt small marine animals like shrimp, which I planned to test out later. The real problem, however, was that I didn't just buy one bloodworm. I bought 12. That meant all of them would need to live together in a single aquarium, something that immediately felt like a terrible idea. To prepare their enclosure, I started with aqua soil mixed with dirt and sand, bloodworms live, buried in ocean sediments, so the substrate had to be deep enough to let them dig and hide. At first, I made a mistake by adding water directly to the soil, which turned everything into a thick black mess. I had to drain it all, clean the substrate, rebuild the layers properly, and try again. This time, the water stayed clear. In the center of the tank, I created a raised mound where I would build decorations. I added pieces of dark, burned-looking wood, arranged like roots rising from the ground. I broke off any sharp pieces and buried them deeper so the structure looked dense and natural. Then came the rocks. Some were smooth river stones, while others were darker, heavier pieces. My favorite piece wasn't even a rock at all. It was petrified wood, once a living tree millions of years ago, now hardened into stone. Before placing the petrified wood, I hid a sardine underneath it. This was an experiment. I wanted to see if the bloodworms could detect food using smell alone and dig toward it through the sand. If they did, it would prove just how effective their hunting instincts really are. Next, I planned to add red aquatic plants to match the bloodworm theme. After finding none in stores, I ordered them online. They arrived the next day, and I planted them throughout the tank. Some weren't actually red, but the mix of colors still worked. I also scattered red crystal stones across the floor to enhance the unsettling look. The sides of the tank were left empty on purpose. On one side, I built a triple-decker cave using baskets, spray foam, and carved textures. It wasn't beautiful, but it provided hiding space for multiple worms. On the other side, I prepared a feeding platform. This would allow me to test different foods and see what bloodworms actually prefer. At the store, I bought beef, salmon, shrimp, and fish pellets. Online sources suggested shrimp were their natural prey, but I wanted to see everything for myself. Before adding the worms, I started filling the tank with water. Halfway through, I realized something critical. Bloodworms are marine animals. They require salt water. I immediately stopped, drained part of the tank, and added salt water until the salinity reached a safe level. This meant the expensive freshwater plants I just bought would not survive. To replace the lost red color, I added a heatless red light, giving the water a dark crimson tint. It wasn't practical, but visually, it fit the theme perfectly. To help with algae control, I added nerite snails, one of the few species that can survive in slightly salty conditions. Even then, I couldn't guarantee the worms wouldn't try to attack them. As a final touch, I created a "Beware of the Worm" sign and splattered red paint along the enclosure walls. The tank was complete. I started by adding just one bloodworm. It sank to the bottom, slowly wiggling through the sand before burying itself. This is how bloodworms spend most of their lives, hidden beneath the surface, waiting. When it resurfaced, I attempted some feeding trials. Fish pellets were a complete failure. Even when I held them directly in front of the worm, it refused to eat. Salmon also failed. The worms just seemed stressed, keeping their mouths retracted. So I added all 12 worms and left them alone to settle in. After some time, their behavior changed. One worm extended its mouth fully, exposing its fangs. Using tweezers, I carefully presented a piece of beef. Instantly, it struck. All 4 fangs latched on, and it refused to let go, even when I shook it. Shrimp produced the exact same reaction. The worms fed aggressively, gripping the food and draining it slowly. Removing the food afterward was surprisingly difficult. The venom was clearly effective. At that moment, I realized why bloodworms are never kept as pets. They are efficient predators, disturbing to watch, and genuinely unsettling to handle. To confirm this reaction wasn't just me, I brought my mum in to see them. Her response said everything: immediate disgust, immediate discomfort, and honestly, I agree. These are pet bloodworms, and now I understand why they're only sold as bait. Thanks for watching.